Oh my God. Kevin Durant just had an all-time game. 32 years old, off an Achilles. The Bucks were up by as many as 17, and Kevin Durant just took over in the second half. I thought there was no way with KD out there. I'm not talking, they're not scrubs, but Jeff Green, Mike James, these guys are not, Kyrie Irving. They are not the Golden State Warriors, all these people with all this disrespect on Kevin Durant because he joined a super duper team in the Warriors. He can do it by himself. Overcame a 17-point deficit. There's a lot to say bad about the Bucks and bad about Mike Budenholzer, but I do want to give the ultimate props to Kevin Durant. We just saw a man after an Achilles tear come back with an all-time game. That was one of the all-time Kevin Durant performances. When we talk about his career, when he gets inducted into the Hall of Fame, we are going to mention this game. That is how good it was. And my entire... Okay, folks. So look, here's the deal. I don't want to take away from Kevin Durant because Kevin Durant just had one of the greatest games I've ever seen from him. However, what is Coach Mike Budenholzer doing? Just double Kevin Durant once or twice. I know he was hot, but it was like PJ Tucker was singling him over and over, and he was hitting buckets over and over as that 17-point lead was chipped away. Then before you know it, the Nets go on top, and the Bucks' spirit is crushed. The Bucks are one of the more fragile teams because they're led by a fragile superstar. And so once that 17-point lead went away, the Bucks were done. We knew once the Nets were on top by 2 or 3 points that it was over. You know what I mean? So please, double Kevin Durant in Game 6. Also, James Harden was like 30% of himself. He was so bad. I give him a lot of credit for all the minutes that James Harden played, but why not go at James Harden? Every single time one of the Bucks players was singled on Harden and they drove at Harden, they would score, but they didn't do it enough. And so the Bucks made horrible decisions coaching-wise. On offense, not going just at James Harden over and over. On defense, not doubling Kevin Durant. And so, KD had one of the games of his life. I was so amazed. I didn't think those shots were going in, but they kept going in. But at the same time, Mike Budenholzer, even if they win this series, I pray for Bucks fans that the Bucks do lose so that they can get a better coach in there. And I feel bad because he wins a lot of games in the regular season. But adjusting just isn't what they do in Milwaukee, apparently. So they need a new coach in there. But yeah, look, my prediction was Bucks in 7. And, right now, it's, they're on the ropes. And the Nets can win with one more victory. They still have home court advantage. If this thing goes to 7, the Nets will play that 7th game in Brooklyn. So there's something to be said there. Will James Harden continue to play even though he was clearly just not himself at all? Will he continue to play? If they get to 7 games, will Kyrie Irving come back by that time? This was a game the Bucks had to have, and they had a 17-point lead. They had to have this game. The Nets were injured. They had no Kyrie Irving out there. They had James Harden at like 30%. But what the Nets had was Kevin Durant playing like a superstar, and they had Jeff Green having one of the games of his life in a big, big spot. So good for Jeff Green and good for Kevin Durant. So what questions or comments do you guys have right now? Yeah, stupid shots. No, Spencer Dinwiddie will not come back, yo. He's done. Yes, of course. I'm not going to change my predictions. Do I still think Bucks in 7? Yes, I still think Bucks in 7. Listen, you know that my prediction is Bucks against Clippers in the finals, and I'm not going to change that. You can't change. That's what a prediction is. Why would you have predictions if you can just change them in the middle? I think Coach Bud will get fired. It's too bad. So, of course, yeah, Giannis is a good player, but I think, and we've seen this over and over with him in the playoffs, that Giannis is so one-dimensional. I mean, every Giannis 3 feels like a miracle. And, Giannis he's timid. He's scared in the big moment. Obviously, the free throw stuff is in his head. He does not drive and use his physicality enough. He settles for jump shots. He's not a jump shooter. I think part of the reason why Giannis was so buzzed about was because, he had started to develop the shot, and he's had decent games where he shoots the 3. And I think what we all thought about Giannis was, oh my gosh, what if he keeps developing this way? He'll be unstoppable. Well, I think what we've learned now is he's not going to keep developing that way. He's not Kevin Durant. He's not Anthony Davis. He's not this guy that is able to just be an unstoppable force in the paint and also has that range and can also handle the ball. I'm glad that Drew Holiday was bringing the ball up the court more today. But Giannis is not that guy. Giannis is not this unicorn freak who can do everything with 5 different tools. And so, I think that a lot of this series is going to depend on if Kyrie Irving comes back, because now that the Nets have gotten this win, they've given Kyrie a little bit more time to come back healthy and for the Nets as a team to be full strength. So James Harden, he was out there. He played a lot of minutes. He didn't re-aggravate the injury. But I just think that not only was this game big for their spirit, their confidence, but also big for the Nets to get healthy again. And so we'll see what happens. But of course, my prediction is still Bucks in 7. It is Bucks and Clippers in the NBA Finals. That's been my prediction since before the playoffs started. And I can't just change my predictions, because if I could, then what would be the point of having predictions? If the Bucks had won today, would it have been over in 6? Yes. I think so. And, we'll see what happens. Is KD top 10 all time? Of course he is. Especially, he's going to win a championship at some point, I think, with the Brooklyn Nets. And this year will probably be his best chance. So we'll see. Okay, guys, so that was just a quick reaction to a huge game. Me and my nephew, Phoenix, we watched the game, and it was a lot of fun. Now, Phoenix is from the LA area.
Close.
And clearly he's a Lakers fan.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite player?
LeBron James.
What did you think about the game today?
Well, it was a very close game.
Yeah.
And it started with the Bucks having a really big start, but in the second half they started going downhill. So the Nets made a really big comeback.
Yeah.
And in the second half of the game, the Bucks just didn't do so well.
What do you think the Bucks should have done instead?
Well, since
Kevin Durant
was doing so well, they had this big open space right in front of the hoop, and they weren't double teaming him. So he would just drive through and score every time.
So Phoenix Hansen can see that they need to double team Kevin Durant, but the Bucks coach cannot see this. This is a bad sign for the Bucks, okay? Phoenix can see it from his living room, and Coach Bud can't. This is horrible. Thank you, Phoenix.
You're welcome.
We'll see what happens in Game 6. Okay. All right, guys. That's it.